the people pleasers. So excited to have my guest, Kristi Spencer, here with us today, the etiquette expert and founder of The Polite Company. Kristi, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
So glad to be here with you today. And I am hoping to be on my best behavior with great etiquette.
Me too. Me too. I have to remember that I have to do that too.
I love it. I love this company. So this concept of not being a doormat is very appropriate for our conversations. A lot of our listeners are people who put themselves last constantly, always saying yes to things. Can you think of a time where you've ever been a people pleaser? I'd love to hear that I'm not
I
alone.
think I still am. And so it's difficult because we don't want to disappoint people. We want people to be happy with us. And when we deliver that no or we say we can't do something, that's the fear. And so I think that we all have that. We want it to be good for our parents and our teachers and our bosses and our children and our husbands. And what I was able to find through etiquette training is that there is a way to keep those relationships intact, but you can still set boundaries and speak up for yourself.
Amazing, amazing. So let's dig into that. So share, what are some of your strategies for keeping those relationships intact?
Well, I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to give compliments to other people. So when we give genuine and honest compliments to other people, that gives us power in their relationship. And, those genuine compliments need to be spontaneous and they need to be honest. So don't make a compliment part of your greeting with somebody else, and really resist the urge that when somebody gives you a compliment that you return a compliment to them. That's ingrained in us to do, but that takes the spontaneity and the honesty part out of that compliment. So use compliments, advocate for other people, and that is using our etiquette to gain those to better those relationships with other peoples because they know that we see the best in them.
I love that you said not, tennis matching the compliment right back. There's another whole layer here that when we embrace that compliment and say thank you for it, one, it can help us listen a little bit more to those kind words, right? So often we do that tennis match like you're saying, and we don't listen. We just brush it off when in fact it's a beautiful way to grow that loving energy within ourselves and to feel those positive words, right? So many people just brush that
Right.
off.
And so we wanna explain them away, or we want to, make them,
Mm.
less important to us, but that's really not validating the person who gave you the compliment. So,
Yeah.
I think that giving and receiving compliments well is one etiquette trick that we can do to kind of empower ourselves with other people.
Mhm.
Um, Another one is that we need to gain allies in order to
Mhm.
be more powerful, and this is perfect for etiquette because allies are friends, and making friends as adults takes every etiquette muscle that we have. So we need to be kind and respectful, and we need to be consistent. We need to follow through on those plans in order to make those, important relationships in our lives. So, that part of empowering and gaining allies and gaining friends really aligns so well with etiquette because it takes all of those things, especially as adults, to be able to make friends.
Mm. Isn't that funny, right? That the things that we learn in kindergarten, we have to bring back.
Right. Right. And it is hard because a lot of times we've grown apart from friends or we've grown out of friends. And so your friends groups change from
Yeah.
where you work and how old your kids are. And so we need to be constantly thinking about how can we use those etiquette muscles to gain more people who are going to be on our side when we need them.
Yeah, very interesting. I really like the idea of kindness, y- you know, being a part of our daily practice. What if it wasn't so hard, right? What if it wasn't like we had to really force ourselves to think about that, and we just stepped into the day with more kindness to ourselves, to others. Oh, what a different time.
And I think 2 things we can do to make that happen is 1, assume that people are going to like us. Let's not
Mm,
go into a situation and assume, that interaction I had 10 years ago with that person, that's probably how they're gonna view me, or they're gonna think this about me or that about me. Assume people are gonna like you, and there's a much better chance that they actually will.
yeah.
And the other thing is to assume the best in people. So when we do leave the house at the beginning of the day, thinking that, everyone is not out to get me. The day is not going to be bad. It is going to be exactly what I put into it is what I'm going to get out of it. But just, I think those assumptions, if we can, we're going to make assumptions all the time. Let's make them in a positive way because
Helpful.
we're probably going to be wrong if we're making those assumptions about something. But why not be wrong and it be in a positive place that it was coming from?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I want to go back to one other thing you said before, about being consistent as part of making those friendships, right? Is the concept of do what you say you will do. So important to building that consistency, to building the depth of relationship, right?
Well, and we can meet people and we can hit it off with them and we can take a
Mhm,
picture and we could put it on social media.
mhm.
But that's not a friendship.
Yeah.
A friendship is when you build in some rituals and
Mhm.
you're there for birthdays and brunch dates, but then you're there for, hard doctor's appointments and
Yeah.
breakups and those kinds of things. So we really have to work at creating those rituals and being where we're going to be. We're doing what we say we're gonna be doing,
Yeah.
to create those allies.
Yeah. Interesting. What else?
We need to ask for advice and
Mm,
then listen when people give it to us. So, my 5 favorite words are, "I have an etiquette question." And with me, that sparks a connection with somebody else. If somebody's asking me a question, asking me for advice, I'm automatically more invested in them than I was before. So, I think with empowering ourselves and learning from other people, ask for questions and then listen to what they have to say to you, um, helps. So don't ask unless you wanna know. And so I think
mhm.
a really important one. And I think also is having empathy and learning from other people's perspective. Empathy is a huge part of etiquette. In fact, what I've learned is the golden rule is nice, but the platinum rule is really what is helpful, and that's when we treat others how they want to be treated.
I love that. Love
So,
that.
what do you need at the end of a bad day, Amy?
What do I need at the end of a bad
Yeah.
day? Oh, man. What I need, I like to say what I like to have, but what I need, I enjoy a warm cup of tea. I I really enjoy hugs. So, hugs from my family, hugs from friends, um, sometimes space to just be alone, to not have people needing me and having to run around to do everything for everyone else, for have that time for me to process what happened and reflect and learn from what happened. Um and one of the things that I really like is when my kids genuinely say, how was your day, and listen for the answer. That is like a big thing.
Yeah, so we're more connected to people who know that about us, who know what we
Yeah.
need at the end of a bad day. And
Mhm.
I might need a, tub of ice cream and you need a hug. And
Yeah.
so us knowing that about each other, I think is really powerful. So we don't have
Mhm.
to agree with the other person, but we do have to know their perspective and what makes them tick.
Yeah. What else?
We need to share our passions. And sometimes we can think, oh my gosh, you can't brag if you're going to be, a proponent of etiquette. But when we do share our passions, we are helping people share their passions as well.
Yeah.
So when I talk about etiquette, which, I've been doing for a few minutes with you, I talk way too fast. My eyes light up. But this is my passion. This is what gets me going. And so when I share that with other people, after a talk, there's so many people who come up after and say to me, you just hit on this for me, or this is for me. And they feel instantly empowered to share their own passion. We're all an expert in something. And it may be what your 9 to 5 job is, and it might not be what your 9 to 5 job is.
Mhm.
But becoming an expert and feeling that passion and sharing it with others makes you more powerful, clearly, but
Mhm.
it other gives other people permission to share their own power with others.
Yeah, I love that. This be the light, right? Be the light, show the way. Uh,
Yeah.
so powerful.
And I say be a nerd. Find out what
Mhm.
you are a nerd in, and I
Yeah,
gotta tell you, I am an etiquette nerd for sure.
I
But,
love it.
that's what gets me going, and then, being able to make it into a business, that's like a dream come true.
Mhm. Mhm. That is incredible. So, I'd love for you to share, you've got this guide around boundaries. Tell me more about this.
Well, I think when we set boundaries, we have to have the language
Mm,
and say that we're going to decline an invitation. So when we're going to decline an invitation, I want people to think about the word care. So
mm,
the C is that we actually consider somebody's request. We don't give an immediate no, because that shows we haven't given thought, and we
mhm.
don't give an immediate yes because we're going to probably learn to regret that if we give that yes, and then we're going to have to back out, and that's not etiquette. So,
Yeah.
and then the A is when you talk to somebody, you want to appreciate what they've asked for you to do. So
Mm,
the A is for appreciate, and you can say, "I am so glad you feel like you can ask me to do this favor for you," or "I'm so glad you asked me to do this." Um, and then the R in care is for the rejection. And
mhm,
the way we do that rejection is that we want to take care with it, and we want to make sure that how we present it is not going to damage the relationship.
mm,
So the way we can say that is we can use I statements. So I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't have the bandwidth to do that, or I wouldn't be the best person to do that, are
mm,
all statements that we can make. And then the E in the last component of care is again empathy. Sometimes when we disappoint people or we can't match the requests that they make of us, we really just need to sit with it and listen.
mhm,
And that is another thing that builds that relationship, even though might have disappointed the person or, messed up their plans, is that you're willing to listen and say, "I can see that you're in a bind, and I wish I could help." But then just kind of sitting and listening and having that empathy, I can almost guarantee 100% of the time, that person is gonna walk away from that conversation remembering how you cared for them and how
mm,
you made them feel, as opposed to your no.
mm. I love that. That's very powerful. So, I'd love to know, how did you get into this work? What was your catalyst?
Like I said, etiquette nerd for years. I
Yeah.
had a dream that I was going to someday take a class from the Emily Post Institute. And so over COVID, we weren't traveling, we were at home, like everybody else was. And I just decided now's the time. And so I did it. And then I was in television newsrooms for a couple decades before that. And I was able to think about, I've been honing a message. I've been helping people present an image to others. I've been in management. I've had those difficult conversations. And I can really apply
Mm,
that to etiquette. And so it was a natural fit. And I started doing it last year. Actually, a year ago today, I did my first in person keynote event.
amazing.
Locally. And it was for International Women's Day, which today is as well. And it was fantastic. And since
Mhm,
then, I think this year I counted roughly about 1,000 students that I have helped with dining etiquette, social etiquette, and of course, business etiquette training, which is what my certification is in.
Very, very cool. I can certainly feel your passion. There's no doubt about that. So I'd love to know, let's say you have a client from one of your speaking events who uses the words, "I'm so tired of being a doormat." And obviously I'm not giving you a depth of scope on this individual, but what would you start with this
I would s
individual?
I would start with those scripts and learning and being able to say in the moment, "I'm not comfortable with, I don't have the bandwidth for, or I wouldn't be the best person to do that." Having those scripts in your back pocket really helps you deliver it well and with confidence, and that's what etiquette is. Etiquette isn't about learning a bunch of rules, although there are a lot of rules that you can learn and they give you confidence, but again, it's about those relationships and taking every interaction that we have, whether we think it's going to be positive or it has the potential to be negative, and turning it into a positive encounter with somebody else. So
Mm,
I would encourage them practice those words, deliver them with confidence, and deliver that empathy and all the things that go with it. And I think they would be surprised what they could get out of, no,
yeah.
get out of those bake sales and, staying after work and all of those
Mhm.
kinds of things. You can do it, and, it's just in how you do it.
Yeah. Wow. Can I share, Christy? The image that comes to my mind when I think of etiquette training is, I don't know if you saw the Titanic movie many, many moons, many moons ago, when the lead character is sitting for tea and it's very posh and they fold the napkin, right? Do you remember that
Right,
scene? That's
right.
that's what comes to my mind for etiquette. So, can you share a little bit more? You've shared some examples for the everyday people pleaser. You also mentioned business etiquette and dining etiquette. Am I visualizing this right? Like, you teach somebody how to sit at a table? Like,
I actually do not teach that.
okay,
And I teach people really practical
okay,
advice, and I teach them that etiquette is accessible, and I wanna
awesome.
get them through the 99.9% of the business meals and dinners of their life where there is
Yes.
not going to be a cake fork, there is not gonna be a dessert
Mm.
spoon, um, we're not having high tea. No one
Right.
cares if you wear white after Labor Day. I'm really all about this accessible, practical things that we can teach um, other women who are coming into business, and I love to teach college students as well because when they know just a few of those rules, this is the fork that we start with, our napkin goes in our lap, just a couple of those easy things, their confidence goes through the roof.
Yes, I love that. You know what? And I wasn't definitely making light, but that's what the idea of etiquette came to my mind. So I appreciate that the point here is that you are building confidence for people in so many moments of their life by learning these strategies. I love that.
Yeah, I hope that people do, and I hope that, when kids learn it, that they remember it, and they
Mm.
remember it's not about, putting a book on your head or how to walk in high heels or
No.
who opens the door for whom. It's about how we treat everybody, and it's how we treat everybody all the time.
Yes. Yes, with respect, all of these things. So awesome. So can you share, Christy, as we wrap up our conversation today, what are your final thoughts and final words to leave the listeners?
Well, I think, what you said just now was really important is etiquette sometimes gets a bad rap. And so I want to explain to people what etiquette is. And again, it's about the relationships. It is not about memorizing those rules. It is not about using etiquette to judge somebody else's
Ah,
etiquette. That is
big.
the rudest thing that you can do. It's
Yeah.
about using etiquette to your advantage and taking care of other people and giving them that confidence.
Mm, I love that. I love it. And so how can people stay in touch with you, Christy?
The best place to keep up with me is on my website, which is The Polite Company, company is spelled out, .com.
Amazing. And what about online?
Online, you can find me on Instagram, The Polite Company Kristi, and on Facebook, The Polite Company Kristi as well.
Amazing, amazing. Well, it was incredible to be here with you today, Kristi. I love what you said about the platinum rule, especially. I'm made notes on that, as well as your acronym for CARE. Very, very powerful, giving people real strategies that they can implement and practice today. So, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Awesome. And for all those listening, thank you so much for listening and tuning in to Power to the People Pleasers. Stay tuned for our next episode.